In the shifting sands of the Middle Nile, where the waters turn gold under the sun, lies a kingdom that once matched ancient Egypt in power, wealth, and mystery. Welcome to the Kingdom of Kush, a civilization of bowmen, gold miners, pyramid builders, and forgotten pharaohs. Join us at the History Files Inn, where forgotten empires, hidden archives, and untold legends come alive. Step inside. The past awaits. The story of Kush begins in the land of Nubia, the narrow stretch of fertile Nile Valley that runs from what is now southern Egypt into northern Sudan. For millennia, this region was home to a series of powerful kingdoms and cultures, but none would cast a longer shadow than Kush itself. Archaeologists trace the earliest Nubian complex societies to the Kerma culture, circa 2500 to 1500 BCE, centered at the city of Kerma in Upper Nubia. With its large tumuli, distinctive pottery, and trade networks that extended into Egypt and the Sahara, Kerma laid the foundation for the later rise of Kush. As Egypt's new kingdom, circa 1570 to 1069 BCE, reached the apex of its power, Nubia became both a trading partner and a contested frontier. Egyptian armies marched south and Egyptian officials governed Nubia, but Nubian society persevered and maintained its distinct traditions. When Egypt began to weaken in the 11th century BCE, the viceroys in Kush, once appointed by pharaohs, started to assert independence. Via the city of Napata, they reclaimed control of Nubia and built a kingdom that would rival Egypt itself. Kush's strategic location astride gold mines, mineral-rich hills, and the Nile's great south-north trade routes gave it wealth and influence. The Nubian gold, ivory, ebony, and iron built the wealth of both Egypt and Kush alike. By the 8th to 7th centuries BCE, the kings of Kush began setting their sights north. King Kashta, circa 760 to 747 BCE, extended influence into Upper Egypt, placing his daughter Amenerdis in Thebes as the divine adoratress of Amun. His successor, Piye, also known as Pianki, invaded Egypt itself, founding Egypt's 25th dynasty under Nubian rule. For nearly a century, from Napata and later from Memphis and Thebes, the Kushite pharaohs ruled Egypt. They wore double crowns, built pyramids, and adopted Egyptian religion and titles, yet they also preserved their Nubian identity. But the Assyrians, wielding iron weapons and siege levels unknown to most Nile civilizations, invaded Egypt in 671 BCE. The Kushite pharaoh Taharqa, 690 to 664 BCE, fought bravely, yet the Assyrian threat was overwhelming. By the mid-7th century BCE, the Kushite rulers retreated to Napata, and from there to a new capital farther south, at Meroë. In circa 590 BCE, the Kushite capital moved to Meroë, located further down the Nile into what is today Sudan. Here, away from Egyptian domination, Kush found a second life, marked by iron forges, gold mines, and over 200 pyramids. Meroë became a metallurgical powerhouse, iron production, goldsmithing, and trade routes to the Red Sea and interior Africa sustained this empire for centuries. A distinctive script, the Meroitic alphabet, emerged around the 3rd century BCE, one of Africa's earliest writing systems. The Nubian pyramids of Meroë differ from Egyptian models, steep-sided, smaller scaled, many still standing today. They bear witness to a culture both independent and bold. Kushite society remained powerful until the 4th century CE, but the empire's end would come from a mix of internal decline, environmental stress, and rising neighbors such as the Kingdom of Aksum. Kushite culture was a compelling blend of Egyptian influence and deep Nubian roots. The god Amun reigned at Nubia's sacred mountain of Jebel Barkal, yet the display of Nubian deities and traditions remained clear. Their art, jewelry, and architecture reveal mastery and elegance. Gold ornaments with turquoise inlays, bronze statues, and carved reliefs show a culture rich in craft. One luxury bracelet of Queen Amanishakheto is discovered today in major museum collections. Women also ruled in Kush. The term Candace, Latin, corresponds to a Nubian title for Queen Mother or ruling queen. These female rulers at times controlled armies and diplomacy. Trade was vital. Kushite merchants dealt in ivory, gold, ebony, and iron. They transported goods along caravans stretching from the interior of Africa to the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. The wealth of Kush hinged on its links, south to Africa, north to Egypt, east to Arabia. By the 4th century CE, the kingdom of Kush was unraveling. A changing climate, loss of forests, declines in trade, and the rise of external powers all contributed. In around 330 CE, the kingdom of Aksum invaded, sacking Meroë and ushering in the end of an empire. Yet the legacy of Kush endures. Its pyramids still rise from Sudan sands. Its artisans are admired. Its story calls into question the Egypt-centric narrative of ancient Africa and reminds us that for centuries, a Nubian kingdom sat at the heart of civilization. Kush shows us that power can shift southward, and greatness need not belong solely to the familiar empires we teach in school. It invites us to ask, what parts of history remain forgotten? What voices remain unheard? The kingdom of Kush was not a side note, it was a partner, a rival, a force that shaped the Nile, ruled Egypt, and built a second golden age deep in Africa. From Napata to Meroë, from Nubian archers to pharaohs, from gold-rich mines to pyramids that outnumber those of Egypt. The Kush Empire, Africa's forgotten civilization, was bold, innovative, and enduring. Tonight, in the candlelit halls of the History Files Inn, we light the torch on an empire often overshadowed. Step inside. The past awaits. Thank you for visiting the History Files Inn. If the past moved you today, don't forget to leave your mark, subscribe, and return when the next file opens.